Okay, I think it's time. It is 12 o'clock, right? Always feel free to correct even the gods. My being one of these gods, you see. Hopefully you've become a little bit introduced to the world of the gods in what you've had so far. The gods of Gilgamesh, the gods of Homer. Now we're coming into dramatic literature, theater. Tragedy and comedy are the two main categories we often use, although there are many other categories. So, primarily today my task is to help you understand what is tragic, what's a tragic view of life. And starting off by telling you that primarily the things we look at in CVSP and in the humanities and in everything are communicated to us in very different ways, genre. And each of them has their own genius, their own particular quality that helps us to understand our own lives in a way that no one can do fully. And so there are two Greek terms that we use today, mythos and logos. Logos we use like psychology, giving a rational account of the psyche, of the person, of the personality, of the soul, of the human, whatever. Okay, sociology, the logos, giving a rational account of society and social dynamics. Okay, but logos came to mean is used mostly in this kind of a sense, that trying to give a rational account that you can put in a coherent fashion and communicate whatever it is you wish to communicate about the topic you're dealing with. Mythos is the other aspect, the more difficult one, perhaps the least pursued one in our university days, certainly, and in our world today, generally in the last couple of centuries, certainly the 20th century. Mythos is the power, the capacity to apprehend truth, to grasp a truth about something, and then to think about it, process it in the totality of your mind, in its imagery, in its existential meaning, the meaning for personal human life, and then to communicate it in a novel today, a movie in the past, through a poem, a play, an epic, through music, through art, okay? All of these are ways of communicating the basic thing we're interested in when we say humanities. And by the way, don't say a humanity. I'm taking a humanity. I'm taking a humanities course. You can't take a humanity because humanity يعني الإنسانية. You cannot take a humanity. Taking a humanities course, right? Humanities. So when we're talking about the humanities, we're talking about the human being, all right? And primarily the focus in these kind of courses is to give you a bit of a break from the strenuous sort of stuff you have to do in a major and with all the major grades and all that. This is a chance to kind of sit back a little bit, do even more work for it, but a different kind of work, a different kind of approach, to try to start to understand how humans communicate what they've understood about life in many, many different ways, through their buildings, through their political system, through their laws, their legal system, through whatever, but also through plays, like what we're doing today, and epics like the Epic of Gilgamesh. So hopefully you got from the Epic of Gilgamesh whatever you got, and you've gotten from the Epic of Homer, the Odyssey, whatever you've gotten, to see whether you can't try to get behind to Homer, get behind to whoever did Gilgamesh. And it's never one person, remember, it's a whole culture, but being represented through some of their best communicators. So in getting to understand a tragic view of life, and now when we're going to see it in Oedipus focused on it, as such, even it's called a tragedy. What I'm going to try to help you see more and think about more is how you've been seeing this way of understanding life communicated to you through the Epic of Gilgamesh, through the Epic of, through the Odyssey, although it's more through the Iliad, but the Odyssey has it, and now through Sophocles' Oedipus. If you believed the world was tragic, and you had an understanding of this by now, how could you therefore present it to us, not just in a book, in a rational account of it, in a book or something like that? Lots of stuff has been written about tragedy, many theories of tragedy. I'm going to simply try to cut through all the specialization, and one would love to speak about all the various views of tragedy, but today it's just a very simple thing I'm going to try to help you see. On the fly sheet you have, and I'm sure you can see it very well now because you all see in the dark, there are three main terms, and so you'll have to believe me, you see, but you should always try to authenticate whatever anybody says by finding things in the text and what, substantiate it with evidence. So there are three main items on the first page: the cosmos, Homer's cosmos, the polis, and Apollo. So I'm going to start by telling you roughly what I want to try to get through to you on these 3 points, and then spend whatever time I have to try to flesh it out and make it clearer and more understandable. In a view of what is the meaning of life, okay, we used to use terms like worldview and things like that, but the main thing is that when you're thinking about what is the meaning of life, and you're thinking about it, intellectually or in the kind of way we're trying to do now, you find that basically it will be composed of how you see the world around you, the cosmos, the universe, and how you see, of course, whether it's self-sufficient or whether it's created, or what is divine. So these four categories: the cosmos and the divine. The divine is if you see this anything more powerful than the cosmos. The divine could also mean just those that are called gods. But the divine here really means, in this work and for the works you've been having, it really is the cosmos itself. It's the world itself. It's the world system. The world system that that's how Homer domesticated the religion of the peoples there with all these different gods. He domesticated it. He put it into an artistic whole. He organized it. The historian Herodotus said that Homer and Hesiod created the genealogy of the gods and gave each one their description. You see, already, so we're not dealing with the religion of these people. We're dealing about how people within these cultures, starting off with their religion, how did people start to make use of what was being presented, communicated through the common understanding of their religion, by trying to come to some kind of an aesthetic understanding, and that's what Homer gives us. The world and all of the divine, all the things you call gods, but it's the cosmos, because the cosmos itself was worshipped as a divinity. And we will see that one of the things, hopefully we'll see here, that the if you haven't seen that yet sufficiently in Homer, no one of the gods is absolute. The shares is the main thing, the lots, the moiri. Right? Everything is shared. So that's a basic principle for life that you get from all of this. Life is a question of sharing, because even the gods have to share. So Poseidon tells Zeus, if you think you're going to get me to do something that I don't want to do, Habibi, you have some paranoid notions that you're some kind of monotheistic God or absolute God. You're only Zeus. You have to share things with me. I am your equal, Poseidon and Hades. And this is the stuff that Homer had taught his community, because the Homeric epics became their basic guide for life. They memorized it like one would memorize the Quran or memorize the Bible or memorize Chairman Mao's Red Book or whatever in the 20th century. It's basically, for the cosmos is the main item. The way you understand the universe around you and the forces in the universe, and what are the most important forces, and is there an ultimate force? So if you're looking for an ultimate force in this literature, often it has been presented as it is the cosmos itself, the system. The cosmic system is inflexible. There are the moiri, things have been shared out. Zeus has gotten that share, Poseidon's gotten the share of the sea, Zeus has gotten the heavens, Hades, the afterworld, every single thing, you and me, each one, a tree, a cockroach, everything, all that exists is in a interconnected system, and no one thing is absolute. So when they call Zeus the most important of the gods, he's like the big boss in the whole system, but he isn't absolute. He did not create the universe, he did not set the laws of the universe. He's first and foremost a policeman of the cosmic order. He and all the gods, and that's their main function that Homer gives them, they maintain the order. So it's an aesthetic view of the world. The world is primarily aesthetic in its understanding. And that's what gives meaning to the epics to Homer's epics, and now to this work, and to much of what is Greek, what was communicated through the Greeks, even their philosophy. There's this sense of order, this sense of beauty. So the word cosmos meant order, but it meant order that was also beautiful. And beauty meant proportion and system and everything in its right place and sharing properly and each one doing their, what they should be doing. So the view of the cosmos is extremely important for understanding a tragic view of the world and for understanding this particular play. Because in this particular play you have two characters really, Oedipus and the cosmos. That's one way of reading this particular work. The cosmos is working according to its own laws, its own what it wants, its needs, its aesthetic concern to keep everything in the right place and everything in order, to maintain its sense of morality, of what's right and what's wrong. Oedipus comes along and he's a human being. A human being has to live within the cosmos. And the first thing you need to know is that neither Sophocles nor the character Oedipus believed that the cosmos was made for them. This is not a world that's made for the human. All right? So you have to take that out of your minds a little bit to be able to read and understand empathetically what Sophocles is telling us in this particular work. First and foremost, the gods are just the gods. Zeus in the Odyssey, at one point, Homer has Odysseus say, or somebody, some character there, since it's no longer part of our reading, but I'm not doing this course anyway. But Zeus gives more evil than good. And Zeus becomes the kind of model for justice. So what is justice? Justice is cosmic justice. Human justice and cosmic justice are not the same thing. The human justice that we formulate through the use of our reason, all right, it does not apply to what's happening to Oedipus. And that's the trick. That's why this is the most difficult view of life to be understood. Every other view of life that I know of is a lot easier to understand and teach. But what happens is then this view is kind of made as some kind of mulhaq or something, some attachment to a rationalistic view. The tragic view is its own view, and the primary view there is this tragic gap. There's a gap between how the world works and how you and I and our minds work, because the most important thing we have is our mind. Never park your mind aside in trying to decide what life is all about and what to do. The more you use your mind, all right, that's what Oedipus will represent here. Sophocles is presenting Oedipus as the one who uses his mind, his human mind, in the best possible way a human can use it. But he wants to tell you two things primarily: that this human mind is no match for the cosmic mind. The cosmic mind, he's going to kill his father, marry his mother. All right? Full stop. That's cosmic justice. Something has happened in the past of his family, and there's this kind of curse. Until it's repaired, horrible things are going to happen to human beings. Why is he chosen to pay the price for what happened in the past? Irrelevant. Right? We don't know the way the cosmic order works. It just works. And you have to simply live with it and use your mind to navigate yourself through it in some kind of rational, human, moral way. This is Oedipus. He's told he's going to kill his father, marry his mother. He goes to Apollo, because Apollo is the one who said it. This is the God, the divine, the divinity there. But the divinity doesn't just give their own view. They give the view of the cosmos. So it's kind of just like a mechanical going to a seer or a fortune teller or a Magi Farah or I don't like the names, or the astrologers and all of these who can really tell you things and all of that. So Apollo represents this kind of Apollo. He goes to Apollo and he says, what's all this? I want to understand this. Shoo, I've heard that you've said that I'm going to kill my father, marry my mother. Does Apollo help him somehow? Does Apollo tell him, for instance, if you know the whole story, does Apollo tell him, but you know, you're an orphan? Absolutely not. Doesn't give him anything that helps him. Just tells him, I see a horrible future for you. Oh, terror, terror, terror. And when you read the play, notice that this is how the gods are spoken about right from the beginning. What new curse are you giving us, Apollo? I worship you in dread, Zeus. All right? So get out of your minds. There's only one way of understanding the divine. There's only one way of understanding what is divine. That's Plato. When you come to Plato, you'll start to see why people have come to identify the divine with perfection and goodness and all of that. But a lot of people in the past, all through the centuries, and today all over the globe, still do not believe that there's a good God either in a philosophical sense or in a monotheistic sense. All right? So you have to understand what this is all about, not just for the academic world, which is very important, so you can read tragic literature intelligently and not be sort of speaking about it as if it's something else, but really giving it its credit. Why people are like that? Why there are atheistic, tragic existentialists in the 20th century? Why tragedy has even affected the theists in the 20th century? All right, this is a very important approach to life, and so I'm going to try to summarize for you as best as I can in this way an argument for the whole thing, and referring to texts as the last 2 pages. And so the only real page I'm going to be able to cover in one lecture is on this very first page, to help you understand the background, the mentality, what's the main forces working on Oedipus as he inevitably, inexorably goes into killing his father and marrying his mother. That's his fate, that's his destiny, that's his lot, that's his share. That's what the cosmos has decided for him. He hears this, he goes to Apollo. Apollo gives him no help. What does he have left? His mind, his reason. I'm not going to sit around waiting to kill my father, marry my mother. I don't care who says I have to do it. This is positive rebellion. This is positive rejection of falsehood presenting itself as truth. All right? And if we don't do that, we wouldn't be living in the world we're living in today. All right? If we accepted something like naively just because it's coming from some source that's supposed to be important, we have to investigate it. We have to see. It could be true, but it's not necessarily true. And if somebody tells me I'm going to kill my father and marry my mother, and I go ahead and just sit there waiting for the day when I kill my father and marry my mother, I'm not much of a human being. You know, I would look in the mirror. I wouldn't think much of myself. All right? No, he does the heroic thing. He does the real human, proper, active thing. He leaves home. Leaving home, by the way, is not just a part of a story. He exiles himself. And exile was worse than death at the present time. So don't miss these details that Sophocles is putting in there. Read Sophocles' Oedipus, not somebody else's view of Oedipus, or even your own view. And that's wonderful. That's why great works, you can have your own views of everything. But first, don't miss the actual meaning of that, as much of it as you can get from Sophocles himself. What's he doing? He presents him now after he has run away from home and going in the direction, just happens to be Thebes. He goes from Corinth on his way to Thebes. On his way, he is attacked. He's attacked by a consort, Range Rovers, motorcycles, blah, 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 and one of them attacks him. This is a heroic age. He doesn't just, one of my students said, well, he should have sat down and discussed with them. I mean, the only discussion you would get would have a Merkava tank go over your car when the Israelis came in 82, whatever. All right, so you didn't live that long. But primarily, this is a human being using their mind in the best possible way. All right, he's gonna get away from home as far as he can go, but he's exiling himself. All right, he meets this convoy and he fights and he kills them all. You know, especially the one who attacks him. Except for one. Why must there be one who isn't killed? This is a play. Somebody has to tell the story. See, this is symbolism. This is mythos. This is the use of your mind where you have to go beyond just the ABC and the racheta and the prescription. You have to think, with the more important part of your mind, the mythos part. The other one is a servant of what you get through, your awareness, your enlightenment, existential enlightenment. So basically, he goes on. Entering Thebes, there's a sphinx. Oh. See the Sphinx? That's a nice Sphinx there. That's on that side of the story. Okay, the Sphinx is not just Abul Hol of Egypt. There are many different forms of the Sphinx, but always half human, half animal. All right. So this one was generally thought to be half human, half bird. All right. So curse, plague. What's the word? I'm losing my war terms. Hages, blockade. Nobody, no handsome young man like all of these young men in front of me here can come out of Thebes or go back into Thebes without having to pass a drop quiz to see how intelligent they are, all right? What walks on 4 in the morning, 3 at noon, and 2 at dusk? You haven't had that drop quiz yet in your classes? All right? Okay, the human, okay? Man, okay? Remember we say man with a capital M. It means the human, doesn't mean male. مش الرجل الإنسان, okay? And it's horrible. Now you have to kind of he, she, you, she, he, you, ما بعرف شو, كله. It's nice. It's useful socially, but it's a heck of a thing when you don't have much time and you want to write things quickly. So he is the only one, Sowaru, the only one in this whole community of Thebes who could answer that question. What kind of schools did they go to? They couldn't even answer that kind of a question. Any of you could, I'm sure. All right? So he is the only one. See, think symbolically. He's the most intelligent. All right? This is a picture of the most intelligent use of the human mind that you or I or anybody could have. Because this is a symbolic work of the human. The whole thing is about the human and about human blindness and about human sight. That's what the whole work is about. Okay? And so what is the human? How is the human to be understood, really at sort of bottom line, if you like, or the base so that you can build the superstructure on it of everything else you want to understand about the human. Okay, intelligence. He's the most intelligent. He goes in, and what happens? News has come to them. Remember that one who wasn't killed? See, this is a story, it's a play. The one who wasn't killed has come back to Thebes and has told them that your king was killed, assassinated. And so the audience, nor Oedipus doesn't know, you see, blindness, not wickedness, not pride, not anger, and all these moralistic terms that people love to put into there because they want to read the play only the way they can see anything. All right? He's blind. He does not know. That's his only problem. You can't blame somebody for what they can't possibly know. Apollo didn't bother to tell him. How can he possibly know that his true father was in Thebes and that his true father was the king of Thebes and his true mother was the queen of Thebes? How could he possibly know that? How can you hold him responsible for it? See, pride has to go with responsibility, not pride with what some kind of moral code you or I might have today as we read the work, all right? The responsibility is the heart of the human. All right, and that's what this play and what Plato in his Republic will be also focusing on. If you get the point of what he's doing in his simile of the cave, the more light you have, the more knowledge you have, the more responsible you become. If you're blind and you can't see, you're in a cave, so you're not really responsible in the deepest sense of responsibility. So Oedipus is never shown by Sophocles to be responsible for anything that he does that seems negative to a 21st century reader. All right? He's in a sense, he's presenting him like the perfect human, a model. Okay? But the perfect human is very imperfect, has a very imperfect reason, has a very imperfect sight. All right? And so the playing on blindness and sight is extremely important here. Responsibility is what he sees, what he knows. Whatever he knows, he does his best with it. He knows he's going to kill his father and marry his mother. What can he do? He's going to run away from home, even exiling himself. Horrible thing. Right? Finally, whatever he knows, he uses for the sake of humanity around him. And this integral connection between the individual and the polis, that's the second quote there. The second main item on the first page is the polis. The polis simply is translated city or city-state. And when you're reading, especially the first parts, but all through, circle every time you see city or city-state or something like that. Circle that word. That's how you do an empirical study of a text. All right? Go for keywords that were important for this particular context. Okay? The cosmos, so whatever the gods are being spoken about, underlined. I worship you with dread, Zeus. What new curse do you have on it for me? So this is the dread of God, not the reverence of God. That is the fear of God in other systems. All right? This is the dread of God. And you need to keep that separate. You dread something that's going to stab you in the back. You reverence something. You fear something who's good. You fear that you don't want to hurt them, you don't want to insult them, you don't want to betray them, you want to live up to them, you want to be grateful to them. So fear has many different meanings. In this meaning, it's dread. And it's a text there. We dread, this is the cosmos. The cosmos is impersonal, not made for us, too complex for any human to understand, ambiguous, you never quite know what's going on. It's given, it's just there, nobody can change it. Don't think you're going to change the mind of the cosmos. The ultimate principle is just the fates, the lots, the shares. I'm reading the things under cosmos there, and I'd love to spend more time, but just to take you through, hoping what I'm saying around it will help you to understand it. No one, not even Zeus, can transcend this, the principles of the cosmos. The gods are immortal and powerful, but they're not perfect or benevolent. The heroes in the Greek literature are primarily the humans, not the gods. Right? The gods are just powers. They're to give you a sense of realism. Don't think you're the most powerful thing in this world. There are these other things that are much more powerful than you. But in the tragic view, these things are not even rational the way you are rational. They're not benevolent the way you are benevolent. All right? So you can be rational and moral and benevolent in a human way, and you will be a Prometheus, you will be an Oedipus, you will be an Antigone, you will be, that's the heart of these tragic heroes throughout history, in one way or another. That the gods are against you in a sense, so the cosmos does not work for you. The gods are just, the source of more misery than good. Zeus gives more evil than good. So what's the message, though? The message is when you come to the point there under Homer's Cosmos of human excellence. The focus in tragedy is not on the gods. It's on what constitutes true human excellence, meaning in life. If everything is mediocre, blah, lukewarm, vomit it, all right? Let it be either cold or hot. Somebody once said that, and don't quote me. So in the past, people used to know what that was from. I'm not going to bother you with it. But, lukewarmness has always been the enemy of mediocrity. I have to give a lecture on Nietzsche in a couple of hours, and this was Nietzsche. And he said, the mediocrity of the society he was in led him to do everything he was doing. So, and he has a kind of a tragic element in when you get to Nietzsche. But here, the point here, though, is excellence. Live for excellence. The word virtue does not mean, be a good boy or be a good girl or, or something like that, or some other meaning. Virtue meant be excellent. Arete is your excellence. The excellence of a human, Aristotle will define it soon. The excellence of a human is your reason, all right? So the reason is the best you have. The best thing you have in your whole being for an Aristotle is your reason. So seek the excellence. Seek what's best in life if you want true meaning in life. If you want really the meaning of life, seek excellence, okay? The cosmos is not going to help you. The cosmos has its own concerns. The gods have their own concerns. They live on Mount Olympus, and Prometheus has to go in and steal fire so that humans can have fire. All right? Put yourself into that atmosphere, in the context. Don't read texts, especially when you're in this kind of a course in humanities. Avoid the reading of it from a simple 21st century or 17th century or whatever other century perspective. Try to understand, put yourself in their place. Empathy. Otherwise, we don't understand each other. We can understand another human without empathy. So as you're developing empathy to understand other cultures, other humans, other beings, put yourself in their place as much as possible. You will understand them. You can have a dialogue with them. You don't do that, you're just preaching at them or they're preaching at you. You're not having a proper dialogue. So human excellence is the heart of it. And this is what Sophocles is telling you in this play. He's telling you, look at Oedipus. Look at all the others. Look at the gods. Look at every other character in this play. The only character who's seeking excellence all the way through, the only one who loves wisdom, who is a philosopher in this sense, who is seeking truth and seeking to do the best that he can for humanity with the truth he receives. The only one is Oedipus. That's Sophocles' Oedipus. That's Sophocles' message to you and me. You can read it differently if you like, I'm telling you, but that's one that'll help you to understand a tragic mentality and a lot about the Athenian Greek world of this time. Seek excellence. He seeks excellence. Excellence means don't wait around to kill your father, marry your mother. Excellence means exile yourself, suffer. Excellence means use your mind as best you can all the way through. He rids Thebes of the Sphinx plague. I didn't finish that. When he answers the question, in the cosmic order, you see, no one is absolute. The Sphinx has to obey the orders of the cosmic order. And the cosmic order is that as soon as somebody does answer that riddle, Tant Sphinx, bye-bye. She's been defeated, all right? So he saves from that one by his mind. He comes in. They have just received a message that their king has been killed. He doesn't know that the king who was killed was the one he killed. He just killed the whole band of, I'm sorry. I'm mixing my Russian with my French, with my English, with my accent. I'm trying to get one word out. Okay. They're just a bunch of mafia bosses. All right? That's all he thought he killed. Some big zaim who's coming, I'm secretary, put yourself in the kind of the mentality, So he's excellent in everything he's been doing. They elect him king. They elect him king, not inheritance. All right, this is a democracy, by the way. That's another element that has to be mentioned. Athens prided itself as being a democracy. What that democracy is, I'll leave it to your teachers to I don't have time for the details. But it was one of the first, if not the first one that we were very much aware of, attempt to live a kind of a model that we follow when we think of democratic countries. So he is elected. And then Sophocles presents him as the best possible democratic leader. They come to him because there's a second plague. So the play now begins with another plague. The first curse is gone. Another curse, another plague. And it's brought the whole of Thebes, the whole of the community, the whole of the polis. And for them, the polis meant the whole of humanity. All right, for meaning. All right? It's brought it down to nothing works anymore there. They come to him. And they come to him, and Sophocles wants you to read his story and his lines. The most wonderful of men, he's always helped us. His response, I've come to see you. I didn't send my wazir or my somebody. I've come to see you. And I'm suffering more than you are suffering for your suffering, okay? The leader who puts himself in the place of empathizes with and suffers with the thing. Then at one point, as you're reading the work, and that's very important, all these are mentioned in the whole thing if you read the whole thing later. At one point, he now, using his reason, and this is his main problem, he's blind to the fact that a human reason can never understand everything. He thinks his reason can. So he now, using his reason, following, why is there this plague? He sends it to the divine, to the prophetic, to the social, to the individual, These are the four elements in many societies. Like in the Sharia, you go first to the divine source, then you go to the prophetic source, then you go to the community, the ijma of the community, and then you go to individual or group. You're living in the Middle East. You should really, by the time you come to university, know a little bit about the main cultures of your own thing there. But to show you that this is something in this culture as well, he's going to the divine source, to Apollo. All right, he sends Creon, the one who would have led the country unless he was elected king. He sends it to Apollo. Apollo says, your king was killed in the past and was never punished. You see, the cosmic system, break a law, punishment, retribution. Hubris, something goes against the order of the thing in one way or another, automatic retribution, nemesis. That's the way it works. Why and how and motivation and did he mean to do this? Did he not mean to do that? Who cares, right? You've broken the order, khalas, that's all there is. So he now he's investigating. He's the democratic political leader. He's doing his best. He goes to the divine source. Apollo says a king was killed. He confronts the leaders of the polis at the time. Creon and then Tiresias, the prophet, the political leader and the religious leader. They were the ones who were at the time when the king was killed. A king was killed and you didn't do anything about it? Oh, sir, sorry, you know, I drank a little bit too much last night and I couldn't study for this exam, please, you know. Or, you know, my father dropped me on my head when I was 5 years old. And when you're reading this, we did it twice as a play. It's great when you do it as a play because you have to put the life into it that you feel Sophocles is trying to put into it. And he blah, 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 blah. This is the worst crime somebody could commit in a democratic world where the polis is the most important thing, because the polis, it has as much meaning as today humanity, we would say. All right? And so this, the leader, he brings in Tiresias, the prophet. So he goes to the next source. He's gone to the divine source, nothing. Just one piece of information, nothing that really helps. And he goes to Tiresias. Tiresias comes in, he says he's blind, you see, but he can see, but he's blind. The other one can see, but he can't see. The blindness theme, I'm sure your teachers will play on that for you. What is sight and what is insight? Tiresias says, I know the truth, but the truth is only going to cause me pain. And so had I thought more, you know, accusing himself of not being very rational, I would never have come. Oedipus, you know the answer to how we can solve the problem of this plague and lift the plague off of Thebes, and you're not going to tell us? Oh, it'll cause me pain and you pain. I wish I'd never come. Oh, you know, proud. He should listen to the prophet, because he's a prophet. Okay, what's a prophet? Prophet has, you have to define what that person is, not a prophet, as if words mean anything. All right? Some prophets are what you would consider some people that do wonderful things for humans and sacrifice themselves. These prophets are just fortune tellers. He happens to know. He doesn't give a hoot for humanity. And so Oedipus accuses him. You are unfaithful to the polis. Where did you come from, Habibi? You didn't come down from heaven. The polis produced you. And you don't want to even help the polis. You have the secret. You have the answer to how we do that. And so his mind, you see, the mind is working in a very understandable way. Creon, Tiresias. A good Lebanese would have thought of this a long time before. Conspiracy. Not just Lebanese, everybody in the world today. Okay, conspiracy. There's a plot. Okay, it's very rational to have thought that. The political leader, Creon, did nothing. The religious leader didn't tell them to do anything. I can only process that in my human morality and rational mind. Okay, not the cosmic. I'm not going to accept to think in any other way. I'm going to think in the best possible way a human can understand, because that's what I'm responsible for. I'm not responsible for ambiguities and stuff like that. I'm responsible for what I can understand. So he's seeking truth. He's the philosopher. He's the lover of wisdom in this broader sense. The only one in the whole work. The only one who's seeking excellence all the way. So what does he a plot, yani, any moment these two, now that I've seen it, they could kill me. Okay? The chorus begs him to be merciful. All right? And key lines there. He says, even though I know this is going to cost me my life, if this is what you want, the people, democracy, I will go for it. All right? So please see what Sophocles is doing within this context of a democratic leader, of a seeker of excellence, of not somebody who just accepts truth and divinity and prophecy from wherever they're coming or whatever they're saying, just because they have a title called divinity or prophecy. You look into what they're saying. You look into the people. You look into them. He has no care for humanity. The gods have no care for humanity. Why should he then follow them? Prometheus did not follow them, and we have fire. That's how they understand things. Why do we have fire? Because Prometheus didn't respect these gods. All right? You don't respect them, you dread them. And so if they're going to harm you, you've got to watch out, or they'll do that. But you don't respect them. You don't have a positive fear, recognition, gratitude. All right? Fear. You should have that kind of a fear of being ungrateful, a fear of being a slob, a fear of being, just a seeker of opportunity. That's the fear in positive fear in systems where they think of the cosmos. So human excellence is the main thing, and especially Now, human excellence, you see, this is the highest level, perhaps, of challenge for a human, to be excellent. You're not going to get any reward. You are going to get something like what happened to Oedipus in your life. Okay, but do it anyway. And so, that's how you should be living your life, trying your best, learning more about your limitations, especially don't be overconfident in your reason, but use your reason, you have nothing else. All right? And if you don't do that, you won't help humanity. Thebes will be still under the first curse, and later on still under the second curse. And Thebes now represents the polis. So notice the city. Put a circle around city everywhere you see it in the text, and get an empirical presentation, study of how Sophocles is telling you, it's not his view, it's the view now, the polis. That's what's important, human community. Not just me, the individual, but the intelligent person will see that the individual can only get benefit by benefiting society. If the society is going to get more corrupt by what I do, is that corruption going to come back at me? If the society is going to get even a little bit better by what I do or my family, that's going to come back at me. So it's even intelligent, although their ideal was just love truth for itself. Don't always want something out of it. Love, the philosopher loves truth for its own sake. Okay, that's the meaning of the love of wisdom. But since we are in the normal world where we only do things for what we get out of it, the tragic message, therefore, is the two sides of the coin. The cosmos is not for you. You are the heart of what's happening to humanity. And if you don't do something, nobody's going to do something. We won't have fire, or Thebes will still be under a curse, under the plague. He does it. But notice also another very interesting thing as you look at it carefully, the play. The gods not only don't help him, they manipulate him into killing his father and marrying his mother. They are sadistic as well as simply unhelpful. Apollo, they want, see, what does the cosmos want? They want him to kill his father, marry his mother, all right? So that they can put the blame on him. If they tell him where his true parents are, he'd stay in Corinth. Then the fate wouldn't happen, you see. For the fate to happen, all right, Apollo cannot give him information that will help him, leaves him, knowing his mind is going to go in that direction. He goes in that direction. The Sphinx, when Oedipus asks Creon, why did you not seek justice at the time? Don't you know what happens in our world when a king is assassinated, you don't do anything about it? Don't you know that that's going to cause a horrible plague? How could you do that? What is the answer? Right? Well, the Sphinx, you see, part of the cosmic world, convinced us not to do it. Don't miss these points. All right? The Sphinx convinced them not to seek the truth, because had they sought the truth, all right, he would not have been allowed to be king or to marry the mother. He has to kill the king and he has to marry the mother. All right? So it's a very interesting play. Extremely interesting play. I've been with it all my life, and I'm still seeing new things. And I've directed it twice. I've played in it countless times. All right, but the play is a really wonderful piece of text to help you just to be aware that don't skip over these plays and this literature just because they're from the past and you've gotten some kind of interpretation of it. As you go on, if you're interested in this kind of thing, you'll find that every one of the things we give you in CS are a lifetime challenge to you, not just for now, but you have to get a first taste of it. Okay, so the last one on the thing, the polis, the Apollo. Okay, I have just one more minute. The Apollo, but please stay for this. What does Apollo represent there? Not the actual Apollo of the play, but now the intellectual juice that's extracted from what Apollo comes to represent. Light and reason and truth and music and things like that. So, but they've kind of been distilled into these two commandments, if you like. You have the 10 commandments in monotheism, how to live the best possible life, of loving God properly and loving your neighbor the same way you love yourself. All right, that's that. It can be boiled down to two, in other words, the 10 commandments. Here, their moral system can be boiled down to these two things. Know thyself. Seek the truth, always, for its own sake, even whatever it costs you. Seek knowledge. That's what's at the heart of all of that. So this is Oedipus. And balance is best. Whatever you do, have, whatever is your role and your responsibility in the polis, do it at its best, in the best possible way. And that's what he's been doing all the way through. So those three things on the first page are one way of helping you get into the tragic atmosphere, that one way of understanding what Sophocles is trying to get us to get from this particular play. Although, of course, it's open to interpretation any way you wish to take it. The other pages are there for those of you who read them further. There's a kind of a summary at the end of the main points. On the very last page, a summary of the main points to see if you've followed some of the main points I've been doing. But make use of it as your teacher allows you.